Hello, and thanks for tuning in. I want to welcome you to my very first podcast episode. This is something that I have wanted to do for quite some time, but I would always procrastinate, get stuck, stall, and just forget about it, put it on the back burner because the things I wanted to talk about, not all of the episodes, not all of the topics, were things that weren't really discussed a lot. Things that when I would try to find, if others thought or felt the way I did, I would barely find anything on it. It was just all more, everything's positive, believe in yourself, this and that. But there's things that aren't discussed and that people deal with, and it's buried and hidden because if you do talk about it, you're considered insecure or jealous or whatever. And so a lot of the things that I want to be talking about going forward are just things that I feel like should be talked about so others know that they're not the only ones that feel that way, and that it will help, somebody out there who is maybe struggling with some of the, things they notice within our creative photography industry. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. And for this first one, I want to talk about how the photography industry rewards personality before skill, and no one wants to admit it. I want to talk about something that feels awkward, to say out loud, especially if you're a creative, because the second you say it, people assume you're jealous, like I said, bitter, or just not trying hard enough. But I think a lot of photographers are quietly thinking the same thing and don't know how to talk about it without feeling bad. And that is this. A lot of the time, the photography industry rewards personality before skill. Not always, not in every case, but often that it starts to mess with your confidence. You start looking around and thinking, am I missing something? Am I behind? Am I not as good as I thought? I want to talk about this honestly without blaming anyone and without pretending it doesn't exist. So the reason this topic may feel really uncomfortable is because it sounds bad when you say it. It sounds like you're saying you're better than someone else. It sounds like you're complaining, and it sounds like you just need to get with the times. And creatives are constantly told to be supportive, positive, encouraging, and uplifting. It's all about community. I've been hearing that from way back, and I always found it strange because people would act and play and pretend they were a big part of this community, but behind closed doors they would be gossiping and talking and, oh, they're not that great and whatever. And so it's a lot of surface level things that go on, and it's discouraging for people who may notice it, but like I said, don't want to say anything or nobody else is talking about it. So instead of talking about what they're noticing, they just swallow it and keep moving along. Okay, they scroll, they compare, they question themselves, and they slowly lose their confidence. And the advice they usually hear is just post more, just be more consistent, just show up. And I was told that too, and I thought that too, and I would post all the time. And that didn't really seem to work all the time for me. So no one really talks about what is being rewarded when you do that. Right now, platforms reward confidence, and it's not just now, it's years back I've been seeing this happen, but right now I think it's more than ever. They reward confidence and what's familiar and, what comes off as being comfortable on camera and confident. They don't reward depth or subtlety very well, and pretending otherwise just leaves a lot of thoughtful creatives feeling confused and discouraged. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is that being good at photography and being good at being seen online are two totally different skills. You can be incredible at light at composition, color, working with people, directing, posing, all of it, and still feel awkward explaining yourself on camera or turning your process into quick tips. And at the same time, someone else can be really confident talking, very comfortable online, very consistent with posting, and their work might be just whatever, just not bad, but not amazing, just common, right? And the system often rewards that second person faster because confidence reads as authority. Being visible reads as success. Posting often reads as expertise, even if the work itself hasn't really matured. Another thing I've noticed is how much easier it is to teach confidence than it is to teach how to truly see, your vision, the way you see things, to capture that in your camera. It's easier to say, do this, than to explain how to notice subtle things, trust your instincts, develop your taste and your creative eye over time. Depth doesn't translate well into short videos, and photographers who are quieter or more observant often get lost in the noise. It's part of why so many people give up. They don't keep going after whatever set amount of time because they're following the trends. They're following just post more, just do this, just copy my style. But they're not being taught how to be that artistic creative that they probably want to be, they probably envision for themselves. They get discouraged and just give it up. And photographers who are quieter or more observant often get lost in the noise. So this part matters a lot because when personality keeps getting rewarded over skill, it can slowly eat away at how you see yourself. You start doubting your instincts. You start questioning your worth. You wonder if you need to become louder, more outgoing, or more performative just to survive. Even I thought that too. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to start doing TikTok dances and jumping around and acting hyper and big fake smiles. And it's not me. So I just could never get to that point. And for some people, that feels really uncomfortable. Me. And I'm sure a lot of you too feel that way. It's just something it's just hard to take on that persona when it's not really you. And especially if you're someone who creates from feeling, observation, or intuition. There's also grief here. Grief for the idea that if you worked hard and got really good, you would naturally be seen. And when that doesn't happen, it doesn't just feel disappointing, it's confusing. You start asking yourself, do I change who I am to be visible, or do I stay true to myself and risk being overlooked? That's not a small question, it's a heavy one. Okay? The part I want to be really clear about is that skill still matters, depth still matters, experience really still matters. It just works slower, and depth attracts fewer people, but the connection is stronger. Skill builds trust over time, not overnight. Quiet work often lasts longer than loud growth. Fast growth usually comes with pressure to keep performing, pressure to keep posting, pressure to stay relevant. That kind of visibility can be very exhausting. I want to even just talk a little bit about, for me, when I started, everything kind of moved really quick. Not the first few years. The first few years were kind of just all over the place. I was shooting whatever. I was shooting pets, weddings, this and that, until I found the style that I liked, the portraits and the fashion and things, the conceptual. And once my work started getting noticed, there was a heavy pressure on me to keep posting, keep creating, and oh, how do you do that? How do you do this? How'd you light that? How'd you edit this? What did you do to make it look like this? And so I would be like, oh, like I have to, answer, I have to show, I have to do this and that. And over time, it became really draining for me to do that. And I would go into these episodes of just being stagnant, stop shooting for a bit, stepping away. And that inconsistency hurts your online presence. But I mean, it can just be a little too much. So there has to be like a middle ground, now like that I feel like my work is better than it used to be because we are continually learning and growing and changing our style and, trying new ideas, things like that. I look back at older work where I would just be going viral, getting thousands of likes, all this and that. And I think, ew, like that picture, ew, I don't like that at all. But I guess because now I've, moved forward a little bit. And now that I feel like I'm posting better work, it's not like that anymore because I decided that I just need to slow down. I'm not happy doing this and it makes me miserable. I just want to teach and create at my own pace. And that does definitely affect your online presence. And so, it is what it is. The other thing is that if you've been feeling overlooked or discouraged, I want you to know you're not imagining things. Something has shifted, and noticing it doesn't make you negative or bitter. It makes you observant. The real question isn't whether personality or skill should matter more. The real question is, what kind of creative life do you want to build, and what are you willing to trade for attention? You don't need to answer that right now, but it is worth thinking about just to reflect and think about what you want to build for yourself, your business, your photography, your creativity, even if it's just a hobby, and to not put so much pressure on yourself to keep up with the Joneses and to, I got to get the latest camera. I got to get sponsorships. I need to post. And, everybody has to see my work. And if I don't get this many likes, it's not a healthy path to take, especially as a creative, because that can burn you out and just make you want to give up. So I hope that this is something that will help you if you needed to hear this today, and that going forward, you can keep this in the back of your mind when you are creating, and just do not worry about so much of, being liked and viewed and whatever else. So anyways, I hope this helped, and I will see you in the next episode.